It's an interesting thing that if you look at from a fixed perspective, the number of changes to the actual order flow messages is actually, there's not many. There's a few new fields, some new enumeration values, and one new order component block. So it's not so much that there is a bunch of comprehensive changes. The problem is it's the old saying, it's a death by 1,000 cuts. It's the number of small changes that add up to make something consequential. And let me just give you one example of this. You could say all we have to do is add the legal entity identifier to our message. Okay, well, that sounds easy. We're just adding a new identifier. But then when you sort of break that out and you think about that problem, is where is that identifier stored? So it becomes a reference data problem. Where is that data actually entered and captured? Well, maybe it becomes a user interface problem. And so you start to see that each one of these small individual changes that to the order flow actually causes a chain of events and throughout all of your systems that have to be tested, verified, and implemented and modified in a short amount of time. So I think the key from it is actually just trying to inventory the number of changes that are all very small in nature, and then managing and making sure you cover all those actually creates quite a project management issue for companies. With time synchronization, it's an interesting thing is that some firms already have addressed time synchronization. They won't have any problem because they're already involved in high frequency trading or having to do market abuse analysis already. But other firms are surprisingly unprepared and there's quite a bit of confusion on time synchronization and time resolution. So within the fixed community, one of the things we had to do was we actually had to extend the time format for our timestamps to support microseconds. So for the first time in our history, we actually have an update to the Fix 4.2 standard and the Fix 4.4 standard to extend our time precision to microseconds. So even though that's a small change, I think that's going to require quite a bit of system changes at a very low level to adhere to the microsecond reporting. And then from a systems perspective, we have to start to make sure that all of our systems support some type of higher resolution time synchronization. So many firms have already implemented the network time protocol, but at some point, any firm that's involved in any form of serious trading is going to have to look beyond the network time protocol to more sophisticated services of getting a time source with GPS source for time, getting atomic clock access, and then also moving up to more sophisticated protocols like the precision time protocol. So this is an area where I think much of the news in the industry has been around overcomplicating time synchronization and time resolution. I think that from our perspective is we've taken a much more simpler approach and outlined what you need to do now for MiFID II compliance, what you need to do in the US for the consolidated audit trail compliance, and that you can evolve into higher resolution time management over the next couple of years after maybe making a small investment this year to make sure that you're compliant with MiFID II and with the coming consolidated audit trail in the United States. Well, it's interesting with best execution, what we're seeing is that a number of venues have already published proprietary standards for publishing this information. And the way best execution works is basically a venue by financial instrument has to publish the results of market liquidity, market size, and pricing, but this information is made available possibly by a website, and these reports are done quarterly. Now, the buy side then has to accumulate and show 5 different alternatives for execution on every one of their executions, which means they'll be having to pull all of this disparate information together to create their own reports. So I think right now we have the making of a real mess in the industry. So what are we trying to do here at both Itiviti in our standards role, and what we're doing is we actually work with the FIX organization to develop a FIX standard for best execution reporting by way of a systematic internalizer at a sell side or via a venue, a trading venue. And in fact, our own product for best execution will actually support the fixed standard so that we have a standard in reporting. And that should ease some of the pressure on the buy side. But I think that ultimately we're probably going to see more solutions needing to be provided to the buy side because they just won't have the capacity to pull this information together in an automated manner to be able to produce and show that they are achieving their best execution goals and aims.